Good evening, everyone. Today's session is on a case study that is related to natural language processing. We already know that natural language processing is one of the domain of artificial intelligence, right? So today we are going to apply the AI project cycle to one case study and let us see how it solves that particular problem. And we are going to have a look on how to build AI models based on certain problems, right? So let us begin with the session. So here we already know that what is AI project cycle. It is a series, a sequence of steps. It has 5 stages, and the first part is you need to identify the problem in the problem scooping part. Then we have data acquisition. In data acquisition, you acquire or collect the data. You gather the data from multiple sources. It could be online sources, it could be offline sources, right? Next we have is data exploration. Basically, data exploration phase talks about the understanding of data, right? The analysis of data, and the most important, cleaning of data, right? Cleaning of data means whatever the, like, if you have collected some images, now if there are some images that are blurred images, or you may say if there are any images that are repetitive images, or some are small, some are large, so you need to uniform them, right? You need those images which are basically unique, and it is relevant to your data set. So all these things needs to be considered in the third phase of AI project cycle, that is data exploration, right? Then we have the modeling part. According to your data set, according to your application, now you are going to predict the output using different algorithms. So basically it is modeling or training the model with some training data set, right? And then at the end you have evaluation part, where you need to apply the evaluation methods for evaluating your model, for checking the performance of your model, for checking the reliability of your model. So you need to apply different evaluation methods, right? Like we have accuracy, precision, or recall, or then you calculate your F1 score, right? So this is a complete AI project cycle which needs to be implemented while building any AI model, right? So let us take one case study that talks about how what are the examples, how a problem is going to be solved, right? So here I have taken one scenario that basically talks about your cognitive behavior therapy, right? This is a model that needs to be developed, that basically talks with the patient or the person who is having some stress or some kind of depression, right? So it may share, like, no one is there to share your thoughts, or you are not the patient is not able to share its emotion or its behavior, right? And then it can share it with, or he or she can share it with the machine, right? And machine is going to provide the outputs also, right? So here is the case study which we will be talking about in today's session. Let us see what do you mean by cognitive behavior, and what is the problem actually the patients are facing. So we have heard a lot of cases where people get depressed due to some reasons, due to peer pressures, due to some work pressures, due to their studies, due to their family issues, due to their another relationships, or you may say they may have some issues with the relatives, anything you may consider. When a people are depressed, right? So and they eventually get into something that is bad for them as well as for others. So basically they are moving in the wrong direction, right? So this system is going to help those persons who have their feelings and thoughts, and get out of some stress, or you may say get out of some depression kind of, don't basically like stress is again converted into depression part. So it is by using this system you can share your feelings, you can share your thoughts, you can share your emotions as well. So it is the CBT stands for cognitive behavior therapy. So let us apply an AI project cycle to it. The first step I have already discussed, the problem scooping part. So CBT is a technique used by most therapists, right, to cure the patients who are basically facing the problem of stress and depression. But it has been observed that people do not wish to seek help of a psychiatric willingly, because people think like psychiatric is something when a person is like feels mad, or you may say the person is mad, then only you are going to a psychiatrist. It is not in reality it is not true. Basically, when a person is facing stress, when a person is moving towards the depression phase, it may contact to any counselor, maybe his or her father, mother. It could be treated as a psychiatric only. Why? Because if a person is going to solve and counsel the patient, they may be like as a god, right, at that time. So they try to avoid such interactions as much as possible. Thus, there is a need to bridge the gap between a person who needs help and the psychiatrists, right? So let us have a look on like how the patient or how the person can share his or her feelings with the machine, and then machine is going to help out in that case. So here we are going to use the AI project cycle. So problem is that like when the patient is facing the some kind of stress, or the person is suffering from stress, and that is leading to the onset of depression, right? So when we talk about problem scooping part, it has the 4 W's canvas in the in the problem scooping part, right? So 4 W's canvas talks about what, who, where, and why, right? So let us see one by one. First is who. Who basically talks about who are the stakeholders in the problem, or you may say those who are associated with the system or AI model. So people who suffer from stress and are on the onset of depression, they may are the stakeholders, to be like stakeholders, or you may say the users of that model, or you may say the developer also. So everybody who is going to be involved in that project, right, for building that model, even the users, even the developers, all they are calling, we call it as stakeholders. What do you know about them? People who are going through stress are reluctant to consult psychiatrists. So they are basically, they have a fear, or they have a mindset, no, no, we are not mad to contact to psychiatrist. It's not, in reality it's not true. It basically solves or cancel your problem only. No, if the stress is converted into your, it may lead to the onset of depression, then only it is going to prescribe, or the doctor is prescribing some medicines. Otherwise, by having a counseling session, by having a you may say sharing his or her feelings, it can be reduced, this problem can be handled. Now, what is the problem? What is the nature of the problem? The second W talks about what is the nature of the problem. So, people who need help are reluctant to consult a psychiatric, and hence live miserably. So, they feel so bad and they are not contacting the psychiatric or any person who is going to help him out. How do you know it is a problem? Studies around mental stress and depression available on various authentic sources. So you may have uh, what you may have different research work that are available, like how to handle this, right? Then where this problem is arising, during which period of time, when a person is not sharing, and it is basically during the stressful period of time, when they are going through the stressful period of time, they may be like having the situation where this situation arises, when when they are actually feeling bad and not able to share the feelings. So this is the stressful period of time where a person gets into the onset of depression, right? So due to some unpleasant experiences, why it is arising, where it is arising. So yes, so it talks about like sometimes a person feels bad, of a person experiences some unpleasant experiences, like I don't want, or any unsuccess, or any, when a person faces some failures and not share their failures with other people, so they may be leading to, yes, stress, right? And again, it's better to share your feelings to thoughts. So this system is basically helpful in that case. So why this problem is arising, here we are going to provide the solution to the problem. Why is not talking about why this problem is arising, right? Why we have already discussed what is the nature of the problem. So why here is going to, whenever we are talking about why in 4W's canvas, it is talking about how to solve this problem, right? So people get a platform where they can talk and vent out their feelings anonymously. So nobody is going to share, like if you don't have any trustful person, you may share this feeling with the AI model, right? And that machine is going to help you out, and where you can vent out your feelings, because it's a machine, it's a kind of chatbot which is basically chatting with you, and it's a kind of machine which can understand your language also, right? So people get a medium that can interact with them and applies primitive CBT on them and can suggest help whenever needed. So how would it improve their situation? Because the people are not trusting on anyone to share, to vent out their feelings, to vent out their stress, right? So for overcoming this point, this system is going to help out. Why you are building this system basically, so people would be able to vent out their stress using this system. They would consider going to a psychiatrist whenever required. So later on, if they require, because it is not required, whenever a person is stressful and not sharing their thoughts, emotions, then only it is leading to the onset of, like you may say, the onset of depression. Otherwise, if a person is getting out their stress and share the feelings, right? It may be your it can be like anyone. We cannot say that it is your friend only, or he or she should be your parents only. No, the person, basically the patient is going to trust on anybody to vent out its stress, then only he can come out of this phase, right? So this is the 4W's canvas, which basically talking about the problems, right? So here the problem is, to the patient is going to the patient is undergoing a process of stress and not able to come out of the depression phase, and the machine is going to help out to vent out their feelings so that he can be s- saved from the depression part, right? So let us see, this is the, you may say this is the template, 4W's canvas template for the first stage, that is problem scooping, right? So here we have 4W's: first, second, third, and fourth, right? That's what we have talked about just now. So this is a template where we talk about, are people undergoing stress? So the basically this canvas talks about the people who are having some kind of stress, right? Have a problem of not being able to share their feelings, emotions, or thoughts. So, what is the problem? Here we have discussed in this part, the problem is not able to vent out their feelings. Then, while where this problem? When they need help in venting out their emotions, when they need, or during the period of stress, they are not able to vent out from the emotions. And what is the ideal solution? So I told you, ideal solution where we are applying the why part. Why is not talking why this problem is arising, why is talking about giving an ideal solution to the problem, right? So this is the 4W canvas in AI project cycle, which basically talks about everything, right? Starting, what is the problem and how you are going to end that problem, what is your proposed solution to this problem, right? Provide them a platform to share their thoughts anonymously and suggest help whenever required, right? Or you may say the motive, the objective, the goal of this case study would be to create a chatbot which can interact with people, help them to vent out their feelings, thoughts, or emotions, and take them through primitive CBT. So I told you, it is, we are going to create a chatbot using, after analyzing all these steps, right? And then checking out whether it is important, whether it is helpful for the patient or not, right? So the next step, the first step I have already discussed, that is problem scooping, this part, right? Now the next step would be your acquisition. Now you are moving towards data acquisition part, where you are going to collect the data. So in the next step of AI project cycle, we have the data acquisition part. So what is data acquisition? To understand the sentiments of people, we need to collect their conversational data so the machine can interpret the words that they can use and understand their meaning, right? Such data can be collected from online sources or offline sources. So whenever we have collection of data or gathering of data, we may be requiring online systems, or we may be acquiring the data from online sources, or we might be acquiring the data from offline sources, right? So like if you can conduct an offline or online survey, right? Second is observing the therapist session, like one person is sitting and observing the behavior of the uh, doctor or psychiatric and the patient also, right? The third thing is data available on internet. So this would be your what this would be your online source, right? Then you can take interviews, or you may develop any API kind of thing, right? Like application programming templates you may have, through which the person is going to share their sentiments, their feelings, and then that is recorded and that can be taken as a data source for building this system, right? So there are number of data sources through which you are going to collect the data. So this is the second phase. In the third phase, once the textual data has been collected, it needs to be processed and cleaned. I have already discussed this thing, like whenever we are talking about data exploration part, right? Whenever we are talking about data exploration part, once we have collected the data, now it's time to process it, right? Analyze it, right? Prepare it. So once you prepare it, then you analyze it, and then you clean it. Cleaning means the repetitive task. Cleaning means the same sentences, if they have used the same reviews they have collected, so you need to clean them so that an easier version can be sent to the machine, so that while training the machine you have a simplest form. Thus, the text is normalized through various steps and is lowered to a minimum vocabulary, since the machine does not require grammatical correct statements but the essence of it, right? So whenever we are talking about like how to clean the data, so you need to have such those sentences which are directly associated with the model. If the sentences are having some of the keywords or some of the text that are not connected to the like your problem statement, that would be clean, that would be deleted, right? And if anything is missed out, like suppose the main keywords or main thing that is missed out within the data set, you need to collect that part. So everything that needs to be done in the data exploration part, this is the very very important part when you are building the AI model. Because for AI project cycle or for building the AI models, this is data is the lifeline for training that system. Because if you have two systems in your lab, right, how would you define like this system is an AI enabled system and the another system is simple system? So if you are training the system with some data, and the system is going to be react according to the training that has given to it earlier, or based on the past experience it is learning from your inputs, right? So it has some intelligence, it has the capability to do so, right? So here this is the very very important step where we talk about the data exploration part, because exploration is the thing where you are actually focusing on what is to be done, right? What data you have collected, if it is irrelevant, obviously the output, because you have heard about GIGO. If you have collected the garbage input, if you have given the system to process, and or if you have trained the system with a garbage information, obviously the output that it is going to produce would be garbage. So GIGO basically is the method while you are applying, while you are training the model, whether the information is relevant or not. If it is a kind of GIGO, you need to avoid this, right? Next thing which we have is modeling. This is the next step of AI project cycle, that is modeling. Now you train the model with some algorithm, right? So once the text has been normalized, it is then fed to an NLP based AI model. Note that in NLP, modeling requires data preprocessing only, after which the data is fed to the machine. So what first, before, like, note, it is very essential. Modeling requires data preprocessing because there is number of methods when you are training the system: tokenization, lemmatization, stemming. I have already discussed in my previous sessions like how stemming, how lemmatization is important in summarizing any document, or how to understand the particular sentence, right? So it is very essential when you are doing your training the system, or when you are doing the modeling phase, when you are basically modeling your system. It requires data preprocessing only after when the data is fed to the machine, right? Depending upon the type of chatbot we try to make, there is a lot of AI models available which can build, which help us to build the foundation of our project. So basically, you may be using. So I may be telling you like. I am going to give you a session on IBM Watson, how to make a chatbot using IBM Watson, or you have Microsoft tools also, which is Azure software also you can use to, or tool to use to make your chatbot. So there are a number of tools which are helpful for developing, for building such kind of applications. Then we have evaluation. What is evaluation? Evaluation, when we talk about evaluation, it is the last phase of AI project cycle, right? This is the evaluation when you are going to test the performance of your system, when you are going to test the reliability of your system, whether the system is going to provide you the accurate results or not. If it is not providing you the accurate results, then your algorithm must be wrong, or you have collected some irrelevant data. So these two phases are again refined. Again, you need to rework on these two phases for getting the better results. So in this phase, when you have the evaluation phase, you need to test the model with some data set that is going to provide that your to check your accuracy of the model, right? So here we are. Yeah, evaluation. The model is then trained, and the trained model is then evaluated. Evaluate means now you are going to check out the accuracy. Evaluated, and the accuracy for the same is generated on the basis of relevance of answers, which the machines gives to the user responses. So you can easily find out, you can easily trace out if the machine. Now everyone is having Google Nest or Alexa at their home. So like if I'm going to ask Google Nest and it is giving some irrelevant response, obviously I can test that this system is going to provide me the irrelevant or inaccurate, right? So you can even beforehand, before it comes into my hand as a user, it is tested number thousand of time with different users, with different developers, with different testers of that particular machine, right? So it is not only us that are going to check out the system. There are number of people before the you get the user response, it is checked, it is tested by the number of people, right? To understand the efficiency of the model, as suggested answers by the chatbot are compared to the actual answer. So here we have the role of prediction and reality, which we have both these factors, predicted and reality, are basically recorded in a matrix, that is confusion matrix, for evaluating the system, right? This confusion matrix is not an evaluation metric, it is just for recording the results, like these are your predicted results and these were your actual results. It is just recording of that. And there are four cases which you consider it, like for calculating the accuracy, precision, or you may say recall, and then you calculate the F1 score to evaluate your model. If it tends like the score, the range of the value ranges from 0 to 1. If it tends to have zeros or 0 point something, so it is, your model is basically giving the performance that is very very poor. And if it tends to one or one perfect one, so you may say the model is perfect, and you have used the right data and the accurate, you are getting the accurate results as well. So this depends on two things, like whatever data or whatever algorithm you have used to train the model. Yes, the last thing that we have in this session would be your underfitting, overfitting, and perfect fit. So here we have two lines, right? That lines they are talking about. This green line is your true functions, right? And this blue line is the predicted line, which is used for predicting the value. So you may have some algorithms that is going to predict this line. Now you may see this thing, your values, your actual points are somehow it is not matching with your predicted line. So this model would be not fit, right? This model is giving you less accuracy. So here we can say that the model's output does not match with your true function. Your output, the model's output does not match with the true function at all. Hence, the model is said to be underfitting. So, when you have the predicted line and your actual outputs are not matching, right? And like you may see, there only few points, only one or two points are lying on that predicted points, and none of them have done are on the predicted line, right? So like suppose I am saying today is rain or not, right? And this is my prediction, yes it would come, and in reality it has not come. So you have to take all these factors while making these predictions, right? And then we have the second line, we have the predicted line, and that predicted line is very much matching with your actual function, with your true function. So here it comes like it is the perfect model. On your predicted line says yes it is the accurate, and the actual points are also falling on these predicted line also, right? So you may say this is the perfect model, which is, you might be having some deviations, but it does not matter, because if you are going towards 0.9 or it is lying 0.8 above, so that means your model is perfect. And the last case would be, in the third case, model performance is trying to cover all the data samples even if they are not, even they are out of alignment of the true functions. So you have that part, you have the model function, right? You have this model and it is covering most of the points, right? But it is, you have trained the model with your training data set only, so it is overfitting your data, right? So again, if it is tested with some other data set, it is going to give you less accuracy, right? So these are the three things which we have, which are basically used for evaluating evaluating your model. The first is underfitting. Underfitting is when you have amount of data, when there is an amount of data and it is not fitted on the predicted line. When you have a huge amount of data and it is not lying on the predicted line, the second graph shows you what you have predicted, the actual ones are also falling on that predicted line, so you have a perfect fit. And again, in the third case, when you have less amount of data, you have trained, it is basically, it is not recommended to use to train the model with the training data set, because it leads to the problem of overfitting. Yes, so whatever you have trained the machine with such points, and in actual, when you are tested with some other points, it is going to provide you less accuracy. So this would be like treated as a problem that is called overfitting. So last figure 3 also leads to a part of overfitting. right? So here, if we have overfitting, we have less accuracy. If we have underfitting, there is less accuracy. If the model has optimum accuracy, right, when it is the predicted line is, and the actual points are also falling on that predicted ones. So there are one or two points which you may see, which you may find that are not on the predicted line, that does not matter, right? Like if you have 90%, 98% accuracy, that is much good, right? It is giving you a very much accurate output, right? So it is like you need to evaluate this in the last phase of AI project cycle, that is evaluation. So hope you have understood the concept of AI project cycle, what are the steps, how we basically use this AI project cycle in our problem statement, that is CBT, and how we have different conditions at the end. So hope you have understood the session and like the session. Thank you.